Diamond Group podcast brought to you by Five Diamond Group, Real Estate Group, and Media Group.
A little bit of everything.
You know, we were talking to somebody earlier this week, and they were talking about how wanting to be the one-stop shop for everything, whether it's real estate or loans. And I understand the concept. I get it. It makes sense when you talk about it, but there's a lot behind that, you know? And the cool thing about the media group, that at least from what we've been able to get through, is that it's a perfect complement to what we already do. And I mean, we like this industry, this aspect of the industry, the whole technical and media portion of it. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Allergies are still killing me, but other than that, you know what else is killing me? This heat. This heat is killing me.
You're from Vegas.
I've been here long enough to pretty much be from here, but you really don't. How's the question? You really don't. You really don't get used to the heat. You just kind of get used to the fact that it's not going anywhere. So just got to deal with it.
Yeah, learn how to tolerate it.
Yeah,
definitely agree with you. Man, this week was the first time we hit an excessive heat warning. Not the first time we hit triple digits, but the first time we hit an excessive heat warning this early in May. I think it was like 3 years ago. We had these temperatures start about the first week of June, and the only reason why I know that is because that was the only weekend that we started working on renovations for the house that was right down the street, and it was perfect weather for the entire month of May. But to get it for it to get this hot, man, oh goodness! Today is the last day. It's supposed to cool down 5 degrees.
Yeah. So, which means no excessive heat warning. That's all that means, but it's still hot.
Well, so like, go ahead.
No, I was in the car yesterday showing homes, and it was 110 degrees. So, yeah.
Right. I mean, that 5 degree, 5 to 7 degrees. It's funny. It makes a bit of a difference, you know. I'm now 15 years in this city. And
15 years.
I'm okay with when it. No, don't rub it in. But when it's in the 90s, you know.
Wasn't it like a 3 to 5 year plan?
Yeah. Okay. So on to the next subject.
just asking for the viewers.
Yes.
They don't know the background story.
All right, fine. The backstory. Here we go. So yes, I moved here in 2006. It was a 3-year plan initially, and then of course we nosedived from 2006. Which, by the way, we bought our house in January of 2006, which was the absolute peak of the hyped market, right? And from that peak, 3 years out, it drops you straight to the bottom of the market, and of course all the chaos that was happening. So, little altered plans there, but that's all right. It's all right. It's 11 Vegas weather when it's 90 degrees.
Wait. You love the Vegas weather, but yet where are you today?
All right, fine. Yes, I am sitting in the mountains between Cedar City and Duck Creek here in Utah.
So what's the weather right now? Like 80s?
It's supposed to top up. Yesterday it topped up at 90, and it was pretty warm. But kind of normal life things we like to see should be available. So good news, because we're moving into that phase 2 for everybody. But at this particular moment, there's still one group left out, and those are the casinos, right? They're supposed to come on when?
June 4th.
June 4th.
Yeah.
And that's next week.
Wednesday? Tuesday?
So not too far behind. But, let's see. Yeah. So
for Thursday.
30, 31. Right.
So, I think the biggest key in this is reminding that this is being done for the economy. This is not because there is no threat, and just being mindful of that uh, is going to be key to keeping the number of cases low, because that risk is still there. And
That's right, exactly right, man. I mean, the fact that we're moving into what they call this new normal does not dismiss the fact that this is still a threat. And you know, it's kind of frustrating at times to hear people have that argument, like, you know, the economy's got to come back and can't have like these restrictions, because yeah, I understand that perspective, but at the same time, the bigger goal at the end of the day is to reduce the loss of life, you know.
yeah.
And there's just a lot of challenges when with that statement. And heck, man, the United States economy is the most powerful economy. I'm pretty sure that they can handle this kind of weather. It's not going to be uh, not going to take that bad of a hit. And how do we know that? Well, we see that the immediate response, once people were able to get back into the marketplace from the real estate front, buyers jumped right back on board because they can. You know, the strength of the economy is still there, and getting back into this summer mode is going to keep fueling that momentum. And
Mhm.
yes, employment is high, but it's a temporary pause, you know. So
Talking about those, and I don't want to jump around, but talking about those numbers. I mean, we saw an increase in contracts, in accepted offers this past 7 days. So here, I'm going to share the numbers now.
right,
So we're looking at 816 new listings that came on board, 1,020 offers accepted the last 7 days, compared to 800-900 that we were. So about 200 to almost 300 homes more that offers were accepted on. So we're still seeing plenty of activity. 487 homes sold. That actually number dropped. So we're seeing, we saw less homes being sold. And that was because we had less. We have less inventory, and we have less transactions being opened. So
right.
that was to be expected. But next month, in about 20 to 30 days, we're going to see about 1,020 homes uh, change over.
Close, double that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a reflection of what was taking place in April, which of course, you know, minimal activity, and that's proper. Yeah, 30 days out.
Yeah.
But
But
exactly right. We're going to see numbers increase here.
but look at the new listings, 816, and then we have 1,020 homes that are going to go off the market because they sold. So this number should be double to be able to support the demand that we have. So sellers, if you guys are looking to sell, we have tons of people out there shopping and not enough homes. I had somebody from California reach out asking, hey, they're looking for something that normally would be not that hard to find, 2 to 3 bedroom, in the west side of town, but there's not much inventory. So if you guys are looking to sell,
It's
now's the time.
the perfect. And so we keep saying it's the perfect moment, whether you're a seller or a buyer. It's like it's still this really cool moment, because we've got a strong demand for buyers that want to find a house. We have low inventory, so you can get the highest price. We're not seeing a softening in the market on prices as far as that goes. And then on the buy side, if you whatever you find, as far as the next house, be it a new house or a drop, in your actual space, like whatever the case may be, as far as the house, you need a bigger house or a smaller house, rates still at the lowest lows that they've ever seen. So, and they're going to continue to be like that for the foreseeable future until the economy gets its strength back. So,
Yeah.
um, absolutely, one of the best times right now, surprisingly.
Should we talk about the biggest news headline this week?
And which one was that, Isaac?
Oh man. Well,
There's quite a few activities happening, man.
what's that?
Quite a few. There's been quite a bit of there's quite a number of activities going on from all different aspects. Let's see. Were you referring to President Trump's tweets and its insensitivity, or the shootings that took place last weekend, or the riots that have been happening as a result of all of those? Take a pick.
I mean, we could talk about all three. I mean, you know what? I think it's let's start with the first one that you mentioned. So I think it's hilarious, right? That Twitter flagged the president's tweets. I mean, but he's
Well, it's
big
only
on
5 years.
fake news, right?
Oh yeah, 5 years finally. Flag something of what is it? Misleading nature is what they're calling it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
here's
I checked out the offer. Go ahead.
sorry. So here's the thing on this. So that's a big risk for Twitter because he might not be able to shut them down because he's threatening to, but he can definitely make their life miserable, their business lives miserable.
Well, well, two things. Twitter's whole premise was having the megaphone of freedom of speech, and that was how they built their model. There was no managing of anything. They did very, very little in terms of deleting accounts that were misleading or even hacking until the election happened, right? But going back 10 years, however long they've been around, they just that was how they built their model, was having that freedom of speech. And then of course the president capitalized on that for the last 5 years. Now to go back and do this double checking because there's an impact, I can see the challenge, I can see the issue, and definitely it'd be interesting to see what kind of chaos the president will do in response to that.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, they are a business. And so there was this, I was hearing this controversy of, well, Twitter can't do that because it's, there's freedom of speech and we have that right and, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing, that Twitter is a business. So just as you walk into a business and they say, hey, you have to follow A, B, and C rules, it's not that they're taking your rights away. It's that's their business, the business rules. And so you either follow them or you don't. And so it's the same thing with Twitter. They're a business, and if you want to use their platform, then you have to abide by their terms and regulations, which you agree to when you sign up. So,
And so at the end of the day, they can impose that rule and they can make that adjustment according to however they want. President's just got to find a different outlet that way.
Well, so normally it wouldn't matter, right? Like if they did that to you or it wouldn't matter because we don't have that power and authority. But when you do it to the president of the United States, POTUS, then that's a bold move, in my opinion.
And yeah, good or bad, it's definitely keeping them in the news, and it's just going to be an interesting experience to see how that plays out on the tech side, especially because I mean, with all of the pressure that they've got going on, being in a campaign year, with all of the misinformation and wrong stuff that's being pushed out there and that he's promoting, just makes it a little more challenging for them in terms of how do they navigate this current time and stuff.
Yep.
Because they got some pretty serious clout there for the president to be pushing them and using them,
Right.
Hello.
What's up,
Apparently
Jacques?
Jacques would like to say.
Is he the co-host today? Is he your co-host?
Are you going to be my co-host today?
Yeah.
No, you should at least get a shirt on.
No.
Let's keep this G-rated.
He just woke up.
I didn't really just woke up.
He's been up playing the Switch for a while.
So next headline. George Floyd.
Terrible, man. Terrible in the worst way. The fact that it's 2020 and the fact that there is still racism sucks. it does not feel like there has been progress. We were just talking about that with some friends that live in Minneapolis, you know, who have been watching all of the protests happen there. And it's the social impact has just been intense. It's not just him. I mean, there's been Brianna and like 2 other incidences on top of it. And while, I mean, at the same time, while these instances are nothing new, the fact that it's being recorded is just exposing it. The reaction to it, that's a whole different ball game, man. I mean, what? It's one thing to have anger. It's one thing to express it, right? But of what value does it bring to just destroy a random business that had no relation to anything?
Right.
It doesn't help your case.
Right. Yeah, and I totally agree. And
We were talking about how, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Sorry, cut you off.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, like at least in the '60s, the peaceful protests made a difference. There was social movement. You know, there was a united effort and to help people. I don't even want to go down the subject, but I mean, to help people reduce the ideology of racism, you know, and it just feels like in the last 5 years, those who may have been on the fringe of that ideology, maybe not necessarily hardcore biased on a racist level, but had that kind of like an environment or maybe friends that they socialize with, now have a license to be even more blatant about their perspective. And that, to me, that's just demonic. There's no justification for that. It's frustrating to see, man.
Oh,
Painful, you know, you feel for these people.
And I
Trying to
agree
help them.
because it's just sad to see that. Well, the first thing is that good thing that there was a video. Good thing that there's not only the video that from the bystanders, but from the business that was there that clearly got that, and so 20 years ago, 30 years in the 50s and the 60s, that would have never been possible, and so it was a hearsay, right? And so that's how a lot of people in authority in these positions were able to get away with it because unfortunately, if you were a minority, they weren't really going to believe you. Who was going to believe you? And so there was a lot of injustice. And so, moving, 40, 50 years later, we have all this technology that can be used for to clarify the situation. And so it's kind of a benefit. So in that sense, yeah, it's great. Unfortunately, yeah, it does suck that it's still happening in 2020. It sucks that this is what's going on, but I 100% agree that there's no reason to be destructive. It just, in my opinion, it just reinforces a negative connotation about that. So if and so instead of create or determining your point and saying, hey, this is an injustice, we demand justice, now you're also putting yourself at risk for absolutely no need, because now you're being destructive. Now the police has authority or reason to use force to be able to stop you. So and now and then all the looting, I mean, now you did theft committed theft. So
I was just, I mean, like, so part of the conversation that we had, like, I woke up yesterday and I was like, reading all of the details that, on both sides of what was going on. And it was just like flashback to 93. I know you were still running around in diapers at that time, but I was in the last year of my high school, and I was in Orange County where several people that we knew participated in the Watts riots that happened in LA in 92 and 93. And it was just really, seeing that whole cycle happen. How many years is that? 92. we're almost 20 something years away from that. You know, it
20,
seems like there's this cycle that's happening, because that wasn't the first time it happened in LA. There was another one that happened in the 60s, and then there was another one that happened in Detroit. And so, you know, there is a way to protest, there is a way to fight, there is a way to counter. But like you said, the destruction of other elements, that just is the result of a mob mentality. And there is anger, just, you know, true, genuine anger, but it's got to be channeled. And if there could be a way to harness that to be able to help, you know, win the message, I guess you can say, um, that would be the key objective, you know.
and just to let you know, in 92, 93, when that happened, we were living in right down the street from where USC's at. So just one little county over is Oakland. I'm not Oakland. I'm sorry. I can't think of the area right now, but um, just. But anyways, that's where like the biggest riots were happening, and so my parents remember looking out the window and seeing the corner store being, you know, broken into, and um, just looting the entire store. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Yeah, I
So
was a
I was just
child,
doing
so
the
I
math,
don't remember this.
and so this is exactly my point. You know, I was in high school, I remember this. To me, that's just, you know, that's a memory, and that's definitely, I remember the impact of what that took. But someone like yourself, or you know, in the millennial age, or for that matter, they did not have that experience. They did not. We weren't. If they were alive, they weren't able to kind of process the depth and the severity of it. And so, a lot of those who are out there fighting out of that kind of anger have grown up in an environment that may have been, you know, condoning the violence, or doing, you know, additional levels of here I go, going down the path of music. The music that they listen to, you know, it could be very, very thuggish, in the sense that it condones that kind of violence. And that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It just means that their interpretation of how they process it is very, it's not going to help the case at the end of the day, guys.
Right.
Come on.
This is where you got to
Consider
really
the other
think of
options.
what action can I take, you know, to make it, you know, better. And it's like when you go into a store and there's an issue, right? You could scream and yell and throw a tantrum, but you might not get the results, and that's just gonna even make things worse on your end, right? But if you go there in calmly and explain the situation and escalate it properly, you're probably going to get a better result, and people are going to be more likely to want to help you rather than have to help you. And this is a huge difference, you know, because when somebody wants to help you, they're going to find every way to be able to make it happen. When somebody needs to help you because that's their job, they're just going to want to get you out of there and move forward. And so that's kind of my thought on this is, you know, yeah, you know, you want justice, you definitely, you know, that we're not minimizing that situation. We're not trying to make it seem like, hey, you know, somebody was here right or wrong, because it was absolutely wrong. You know, anything that causes death is wrong. But how you handle the situation, how do you try to get a problem resolved, makes a huge impact on the effects.
And see, at this point, this is where the conversation really takes the turn. For any Black family that has children growing up, is, you know, they're going to hear that statement from you, and they're going to say, yeah, but you don't know what it's like, and you don't know, you know, what it means to be Black in the society. And that is a true statement, because there are many families who have to help their children appreciate, look, if you get pulled over by a cop, if there's some sort of resistance on any level that you give to a cop or some sort of person of authority, their counter response to that is going to probably be like hypersensitive to me, you know, and that's something that, you know, as whether you're white or not, you know, you don't have that kind of issue. You can't like say, like, if you're a chick getting pulled over by a cop, you can't just, you know, unbutton your breasts or something. That's a different experience. that they're going to have. And that's part of the challenge that they've got to deal with, even more so, after all of this is really challenging. And that's why I say it's demonic, because if people would actually think their way through the process, you can make progress. And that's where conversation helps, talking about it helps. But reacting in that violent manner, or even, the whole cause of what caused it, there's just no human logic to that, to me, in my mind. It's very, very, very frustrating.
And the problem is that unfortunately, we categorize. You're white, you're black, you're brown. Whatever the case is, and unfortunately, until we get out of that mentality, will always be the case, because at the end of the day, we all are human. We all are made with the same way, and so the only the only difference is the pigment of our skin. But that's what makes the world interesting, because if everything was exactly the same, it would be a boring world.
You like apples? You know how many versions of apples there are?
Thousands.
There's like 7,000 varieties. Yeah. And it's the same with human beings. We are the same core structure. We just have a different presentation, different level of whatever, with skin or whatever. But I mean, all racism in general, anti-Semitism, any sort of bigotry, those are not behaviors that you're born with. Those are learned behaviors and perspectives.
Yeah.
And just like they are learned, they can be unlearned. And that's the issue I think we're dealing with right now. And that I at least stand for, is to help people just find a way out of that,
And so, regardless of your skin, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of anything other than being human, if we show each other love and respect, it makes a huge difference. When you walk in anywhere you walk in, and somebody holds the door, or somebody tells you, thank you, have a great day, and they sincerely mean it. I walked into a store the other day, and it was this young girl there, and she was greeting everybody at Smith's, and she's like, "Hi, good morning, hope you have a great day," and she just seemed so upbeat. And it doesn't matter what skin color she was. She was just genuinely being happy, respectful, and polite, and it makes a huge difference. So that's my message to everybody is be conscious of the attitude that you take, regardless of the other person, because we don't know how everybody is. You might be having a bad day, and I walk up to you and I go, "Good morning," and you might not respond the right way, and I'm like, "Oh, this he's racist, that's why he didn't want to say hi to me." But that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes we're in our own world, and so just be conscious of that and be respectful, be loving, be caring, and if we all did that, it would be such a huge difference.
The power of a smile. I mean, it's like it's contagious.
It's kind of hard right now.
That a young.
It's kind of hard right now when you're wearing a mask,
But just like radio, my friend, just like radio, whether you're on a phone call, doing a sales cold call, they always say smile, because it comes through your voice.
That's true.
In a face-to-face conversation, you can have a mask on and you can still tell someone is smiling by their eyes.
Yesterday I was with a client and I was like smiling and nodding, and I realized that I had my mask on, my sunglasses. So I'm literally like, she can't tell if I'm agreeing with her or not.
Forget about it.
So then, I kind of got to take back and say, okay, I gotta kind of take off my glasses or something, but take a couple feet back.
Well, it goes back to that. Yeah. It goes back to the science of communication, right? What is it, like 7% of our communication is the actual words we say.
Yeah.
The 92% of that is all physical reaction, whether it's the contour of our face, the smile that we project, our eyes, our attention span, our gestures, how we feel, and where that's coming out. All of those are just being captured by the brain when we're in face-to-face conversation. So, I mean, with a mask, even with glasses on, the other person knew that you were smiling, and they can feel that.
Let's hope so.
And so, yeah.
All right, I think this wraps it up for today.
Back to Yes, sir. With that, I leave you with a
Yeah. You cut off for a minute, but I
Me
think
too.
you said you leave me with a smile.
Yes.
All right, that works.
All right, man.
All right, so everybody remember,
That,
be kind.
that concludes this episode of the Uraine Ordonez 5 Diamond Group podcast. Join us again next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. As I
Hopefully, you
say.
have better internet so I can hear you better.
Definitely will. I'm used to one gigabyte. Sorry.
All right, we're logging off.
Later, man.